What's going on, lads and lasses? It's ended at St James's Park. Newcastle United won, Everton won in a game which seen once again more controversy in a Newcastle United game this season. This time it, of course, being two VAR decisions costing Newcastle in this game tonight. A very late VAR decision which got Everton the equaliser. But before we get to that, we've got to talk about the game. A fantastic game. Newcastle took to Everton tonight. A fantastic game. Alexander Isak scoring the opening goal in the game. 15 minutes into the game, of course. And, of course, it is Harvey Barnes with a ball into Isak. Isak finds his way in, cool, calm, collected as always. Isak cuts inside past Jared Braithwaite, finds himself coolly and calmly into a position to take on Jordan Scheitfad, and of course calmly slots it past the Mackham in goal for Everton and puts Newcastle 1-0 up in the game. And then, of course, we'll get to a little bit further into the game and Newcastle have a chance to make it 2-0 in the game. And this is where the controversial antics of the Premier League get going once again in a Newcastle United match this season. And it was Dan Burn who finds himself on the end of a fantastic pass by Alexander Isak into the box. And, of course, it is ruled offside. Why is it ruled offside? I do not know. Looking at it on the replays, you could clearly see that Isak was onside. At first, there was looking for, Dan Burn to be offside. Then they seen that, Dan Burn was in an offside position, but then they needed to look to see if Isak was offside. Isak, for me, was in an onside position. I don't see how he could have possibly been in an offside position. Looking at the way the defence for Everton lined up, he lined up perfectly in my eyes, from in my view of that was an onside call. Should have been given to Newcastle. That would have made it 2-0 in the game. And then, of course, we'll come to the back end of the match. 88 minutes in the game, and we're seeing yet again VAR getting involved in the game, and it just seems to never stop. These decisions just seem to constantly keep coming. It's as bad as the injuries for Newcastle this season. VAR decisions just keep coming against us constantly, and they keep costing us points constantly as well. It cost us our place in the Champions League this season by a bad decision in the Champions League because of a referee doing exactly what we've seen again tonight. A very poor decision by somebody who shouldn't have even been in the middle tonight. Tony Harrington, of course, who is known as a Mackham. He does come from the Cleveland area. He is from Hartlepool. So, he is a Mackham. He should not be in the middle reffing a Newcastle United game. He should be nowhere near a Newcastle United game. But the powers that be at the PGMOL have decided he was the man to referee Newcastle's game tonight. And they did that as well back when we won 1-0 against Everton at St James's Park back in, of course, last season. I think we might have got lucky in that one, considering tonight's antics by Tony Harrington, where he was just seemingly keep giving, the Everton team everything they wanted in the game. And this decision, by the referee, he had to go to the monitor and look at it on the monitor. At first, he didn't give the penalty. It was the VAR that intervened and said for him to go and look at the pitch side monitor, which when he did look at the pitch side monitor, it did take him a little while to look at it. And then, of course, the spot kick was given, which it should have never really been a spot kick, I don't think. But at the end of the day, Eddie Howe had his say on it after the game. He says he had no complaints with the decision. He said that, when you look at it back, And I have had a chance to look at it back myself as well. And yes, I do agree with Eddie Howe. You know, Paul Dummett's arm is a little high around the neck of Ashley Young. But for me, it's half a dozen one, half a dozen the other. You know, you can see both players are in the wrong for what's going on in that box right there. Obviously, Paul Dummett shouldn't be pulling on him in the box. You know, Ashley Young has obviously got his hands on Paul Dummett's arm as well. You know, so it could be along the lines of a half a dozen of one, half a dozen the other. It is what it is at the end of the day. You know, we should have probably come away from that game with 3 points in the bag. You know, if they hadn't have disallowed Dan Burns' goal, then we would have been coming away from that game with 3 points in the bag, because it would have still ended 2-1 either way. If that, of course, decision had it ended up happening on the 88th minute. Of course, it was Dominic Calvert-Lewin who scored the goal for Everton coming on, of course, and then he got a chance from the penalty spot to get an easy goal. And, of course, he got lucky in the fact that it just happened to go in because Martin Dubravka did get his hands to it, but just squeezed its way into the back of the net to get Everton a much-needed 1 point out of the game. A point that, you know, they didn't really deserve. Looking at the way that game played out, you know, Newcastle deserved to come away from that game. We deserved to come away from that game with 3 points in the bag. But it is what it is. You know, at the end of the day, we've got to deal with a lot of injuries at the moment. We've got to deal with dodgy calls right, left and centre as well, which just seems to constantly keep happening this season. But there's not that many left now of this season, not that many games left. Newcastle, of course, only 8 games left for it, only 8 games left for Everton, of course, as well. And we are 1 point behind them European places. West Ham, of course, drawing 1-1 with Tottenham. And that, of course, means that we are only 1 point behind West Ham, who are in 7th place on 45 points, us on 44 in 8th. And Everton see themselves sitting 16th, of course, on 26, whilst Nottingham Forest sit behind them just above the relegation zone on 25 points in 17th place, with Luton sitting just behind them in 18th place on 22 points. So it is heating up at the bottom of the Premier League table, and it is heating up at the top of the Premier League table, of course, in the European spots as well. But all I want to say is Newcastle come away from this season and hopefully see us get into Europe, even if it's Europa Conference League or Euro Conference League, whatever you want to call it. You know, I'll take that. At the end of the day, it's a chance to get ourselves a much needed cup, to get that monkey off our back and be able to, you know, open the floodgates, just like Man City did back when they won their first cup, to get, you know, on track, move in the right direction. And that is what we need. We just need that one cup to open the floodgates and allow us to start moving in the right direction and start winning trophy after trophy. And I think, you know, the Euro League could be that one. You know, the Euro Conference League could be that cup to see Newcastle get back to winning trophies in our history. So let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you have liked this video, then please do hit a like. Please do consider subscribing to the channel as well. I'm trying to get the subscribers up, and there's about 19% of you watching the videos that are subscribed to the channel. The other, of course, are unsubscribed. So if you can start subscribing, it would really mean a lot to the channel, because it does help the channel to grow. Until next time, I'll see you all for the next one. However, lads.